All right, call me to order at 6:16.
Now what?
Now what? We have a joint session with Selectmen and FinCom.
Did you send this to the other members of your board? They sent you earlier last week?
I didn't know.
Alright, I printed a couple copies.
This is the balance sheet?
No, this is hers, but I'll talk.
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you, thank you.
Just got the balance.
Here you go. I have a copy for you. This is the one that was in the select board.
It's color coded, thank you. Oops.
Very pretty.
It's easy for me to follow now.
Don't be distracted by the pretty colors, it's not so pretty.
Speaking about the numbers or the colors?
The numbers. One second.
Okay.
You guys want to start going through?
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull something up there.
Okay.
Maybe on your Wi-Fi.
The reserve fund blocked out was because we haven't been using the reserve fund up to now.
Oh, no,
No.
that's just, it's usually a separate article,
Okay.
and I don't know why it was there. And I don't know why it's a pretty box, but
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So, Justine in Finance Committee has been working over the last couple of months, just going through and getting a good handle of kind of where the budgets are initially coming out. Justine has put together some TA recommendations. We've discussed most of those. We haven't agreed on anything quite yet. Put together the balance sheet. You guys are all familiar with our balance sheet. I just got it done before I got here, so it is in draft form. I will get that to Justine after tonight. As it stands right now, we are, based on a lot of assumptions, we're about break even, so we're about balanced. However, we have a few things in here that we need to get some clarification on. Free cash has not been certified, or has to be recertified.
we have a number, I'm just not comfortable with it. I don't know if it's an accurate number.
Can you give me a range of where it's in?
71,000.
Okay, that would be a big, big problem,
I know.
okay? What happened to the free cash certification that we were working with? We were looking at 120s, 130s.
Last year.
No, when we got through, after town meeting, I think free cash came in at we were thinking about 120s, 130s was the number I was
So
thinking.
after the annual,
Yeah,
so some of that money was the phone system, some of it was replenishing your reserve fund, and then what was the other thing I'm missing, Jen?
There was something else, I
Yeah.
can't remember. But that was last year's free cash. This free cash didn't get certified until October.
yeah, and that was in like the 120s, I remember.
Like I said, I'm not confident in that number. I want our new treasurer to do her thing. As you know, she's very, very bright.
Yeah.
I don't trust that number, so that's why I have a hard
Okay.
time defending it.
All right. The number that we've got in the balance sheet right now is 161. So whatever number we have off of that is going to be, we're going to have to make up. That'll drive it to a negative.
I don't have your sheet, so I don't know. I know that I
Yeah.
have a.
So,
my
so that's a number
numbers-
we have to get nailed down.
I know we're off by 77,000 right now.
We're off by 77,000?
Yes.
Okay.
77,000. It's right here on the sheet that I gave you. $77,755.
Mhm. Okay. Well, let's start with that.
Do you add anything, Jen?
No, not right now.
I don't.
So I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. So we're struggling, as I'm sure you have the same conversation every year. I'm probably gonna echo what your last two town administrators said. We are operating in a bare bones operating budget. I have departments right now that can't pay their electric bills. We have to really think as a town, if we either want to keep the character and the integrity of the town and keep things the way they are, which would require raising taxes, or we need to figure out ways to bring in revenue. But going down this road and the trajectory and working with our accountant and our interim treasurer collector and seeing what 5 years out really looks like, this isn't sustainable. And I just wanted to say it publicly, and I wanted to say it in front of both boards. We are working extremely diligent to put together a budget that is balanced. I'm working with Jen, who is incredible and incredibly knowledgeable. But when it comes to things like we can't control, like things like insurance, things like retirement, things like that, you know, IT, you know, everything is going up. And we're not keeping up. And I really wanted to say that tonight. I really wanted to say it with both of you present. And Jen, is there anything I'm missing?
No, I think you said it all. But I think the 77,000 over is not a bad number at this point. I think we can work on that to get it under 2.5.
Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at local receipts and stuff. There are things that we can do.
Yeah.
That
will add.
And they're still coming in,
Yeah.
Okay.
you know, so we got a couple of months yet before.
So I'd like to, so I've been talking about this balance sheet that we need to get online.
Yeah.
I just got your sheet, so I was able to get it plugged in.
Okay.
We really need to go off of that.
You're coming in tomorrow.
You can
I am
come
coming
in
in
with
tomorrow.
us.
Yeah, yeah. There's a seat up
So-
here if you want to have a seat.
We'll be able to review that
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't, so there is definitely some big budget
I'm sorry.
increases that we need to talk about. Can you talk about the retirement? Because my board doesn't know what transpired there.
All right, so we had a $100,000 increase in our Worcester Regional retirement. A couple years ago, the town was not giving the correct, I'm trying to be very vague, give the correct information to the retirement system, which means we weren't being calculated correctly with the amount of people that we have working. That got fixed 2 years ago. So now our Worcester Regional retirement number is $100,000 more. However, it is what it should have been all along. So this isn't like one big increase and then it's going to go away and be small again. No, it's going to be about this size every year, fluctuating obviously a little bit depending on things. But this is going to be the number. So that's why it's a big increase this year, because unfortunately there were some errors that were made in the reporting a couple years ago.
Who's the number on this report?
I was working with, I'm sorry.
What's the kind of time?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's under, yeah, right down.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm right from 250,
So
230 to 360.
230 to 360.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're gonna have to plan for every year, approximately that number, because that's with the correct information,
That's what we
with the
should have
staff
done.
that we have that we should have had all along.
Okay, so, there's been a decision made in this budget to take the town clerk full-time.
Yes.
And where we paying for that? How are we gonna pay for that?
I tried to build it in the best I can. That's, I mean, again, going back, we're 77 over, I think we can make it work. But when I did my recommendation, I put him in at full-time.
I understand.
What I did do though, is all along, in the town clerk's office, there was $1,000 for a part-time town clerk. I did remove that. And again, like I was trying to make cuts everywhere that I could see. I mean, I did make a little bit within the youth center, you know, here and there where I could see. I did in highway, there was a lower labor position that has never been filled since I've been here. What I did is I removed that, which would also remove that person's benefits, and I put money, $5,000 for seasonal help, so we can get a mower or a weed whacker or whatever to do that type of work in the summer months. Just try to be creative. I'm still working on our insurance. Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to switch our property and casualty insurance because our claims are too high. So we are going to be with Maya again, because no one provider will come even close to what we're paying Maya. So where I thought that I could find some savings, I didn't understand how bad our claims were from previous years. So that's not going to make a difference.
What are we doing to manage loss control? Have you guys talked about that?
I haven't talked about that here. I've talked about it in other places. We talk about like safety trainings and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, we have to limit our if we have a lot of losses, a lot of claims, we have to understand what's driving those claims.
I know what they are. We had a leak to this building twice. We had something was wrong with the boiler several years ago, which had to get fixed. Another big one was it was about a $400 claim was the mold and asbestos in this basement. So I know
Aging buildings.
And some motor vehicle crashes here and there, but yeah, actually
Even with maintenance, it's just aging.
Preventative maintenance.
yeah.
Okay. All right, what else is?
And I'm still working on the health insurance, and I'm not fully comfortable to come here with a plan, but I am investigating all of our options.
And how much are we over on the health insurance? What was
We
that?
are expecting a 19.92% increase in our health insurance, and for
Which page is that on, so I can just mark it?
And I understand like everywhere is seeing a huge increase in health insurance, but that is still unacceptable. So I'm working with either other groups and to see
Went
if
up
we
sizable
can,
last year too.
yeah, to kind of see if we can, because we only have 16 people on health insurance, to kind of see if we can join another group, hopefully save some cost there. But again, I don't want to go into detail until I have something more concrete to share. But it is something that we are investigating. And then we have contractual increases, even just, increases to get some of the clerical staff up to a marketable rate. If someone retired or left, we wouldn't be able to fill it at the current rate, which we've discussed in personnel. So just incrementally bringing some of these positions up to, if they could work here, go work at McDonald's for the same amount of money, why would they work here?
Is the school number a real number yet?
The school, yes, they came back at a 3.77, I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
Pathfinder is a $35,000 increase because we have 2 additional kids going there than we did last year.
How many less students, or more students do we have going to Quad?
We have less.
It's less by 4.
So that's, yeah.
Less by 4.
By
Yeah.
4.
So essentially, it's going up more but we have less students.
Are you talking about Pathfinder?
Yes,
or?
305 was last
Quabbin
year.
Regional.
Oh,
Quabbin
Quabbin.
Regional was 305 last year.
So our increase is 3.77, and for me, anything under 4 is manageable because they have all the same increases that we do. They have the insurance, they
Well, I
have the
understand
IT,
that,
they
yeah,
have
but we're assessed on a per student rate.
Yes,
rate,
correct.
and that
Exactly.
means we've got less students,
Yes.
so we should start at less.
I mean, I'm
So
not
it's-
complaining this year compared to some of the other towns in
That
the
never
district.
happens. Because their budget's always going to increase just like ours
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, but
And they're working at less as well.
But I'm wondering if you remember the last time we had this, the one thing that was unknown was the school bus
Reimbursement.
reimbursement.
Yes.
And that's where they didn't have the numbers, so they were assuming it wasn't going to be 100% reimbursed. And that's why, one of the things that we were able to get a better number on after they found out how much they were going to get for school bus reimbursement. So could that be possible that would happen again this year?
No. They haven't said anything about that. I think the 3.77 is pretty, what they were going to do, so there are 2 towns in the district that were having over 8% increase. So they were going to kind of go back and look, because 8%, that is huge.
Yeah, but they have more students.
I understand, well, one of them does, one of them does not. But I don't think they're really gonna, they made $1 million in cuts. I went to all their budget meetings except one. So I was, reviewing their process.
But there are some towns in the district that have an increase in
Yeah,
students.
one town.
Only one town
And that was New Braintree.
had more students?
more
The rest
students.
had less?
The rest had less.
Wow.
So the budget went down $1 million from the previous fiscal year?
No, from their first budget proposal.
Oh, yeah, that's not a decrease. Those aren't cuts.
So,
Yeah,
You're welcome to have a conversation with me.
I know, I mean, like,
We
go
did.
to the
Well, I'm
meetings.
just
I need to,
saying.
Yeah.
yeah. We need to.
Maybe you should, because there's a lot of money there that the state's not funding back to them, and the state's running at a negative as well. It's all these local communities.
Yeah.
So,
It's tough.
So you guys feel pretty comfortable with that number?
well, I'm pretty sure that they don't have a lot of money that they're working with on their end as well, to sit there and say, okay, we're
mean,
down
anything's
4 students, we
possible,
want
but-
80 grand back.
Yeah.
Because 20 grand per student,
Mhm.
okay? It's just not there. You're more than welcome to have a conversation with them, and they'll be more than willing to be transparent, to show you everything and show you the numbers.
Yeah, no, we should.
Bill and
Yeah,
I were
we did
just
that last
talking
year.
about
and
You guys did that
Yeah,
last
it worked
year.
out.
We got somewhere on it when we
I mean-
sat down with them.
I'm
so-
just saying the numbers aren't good, just like
Yeah.
these numbers aren't that great right now,
Yeah.
those numbers on her end aren't that great either.
I'm the town administrator, I'm a big advocate for Hardwick. I am not comfortable asking for anything less, considering I was at all of the meetings, I saw the work that they did, and I saw the cuts that they made, and I see what other towns are going
But you
through.
gotta be careful about saying cuts. So if the budget was 40 million last year, and they go up this year, it's not a cut. Now, if they say, oh, our initial budget's 43 million, and we're gonna sell at 42, and they say we cut $1 million, they didn't cut $1 million.
I
So,
will,
we have to just be careful on the terminology, that's all.
from their first proposal, they made cuts, and again, like, go to their meetings, I went to all but one. I'm not going to go to them and ask them to make
You
more
don't
cuts.
need, you don't need to,
Because I'm comfortable with what they
Yep.
proposed.
all right, well, what's next?
What else do you want to discuss?
What else is driving this thing up?
Recurring debt, interest,
Yeah, let's look at that interest.
debt exclusion,
Mhm.
debt principal exempt.
The debt exclusion is excluded.
What's the interest? Let's talk about the interest, just so we can get that number.
43,000.
Where is, what page, are you thinking interest number?
Second to the last
Second to the last?
of the actual budget, yeah.
Here.
Over here, I think.
So interest,
Nope, yeah, down at the bottom.
interest went from 15 to 12,
Right.
because everything else is
15
debt
to-
exclusion.
8 to 12.
Yeah, so that's not up.
Okay.
Because the debt exclusion comes off the budget.
Oh,
I
okay.
got that from Lori. Do you remember that?
I think she had done the math when we were sitting at the table. remember?
Okay, I see.
Yep, that was the,
The maturing debt went from 9 to,
27,
27,
28,000.
call it
Yeah.
28.
Yeah, right.
That's a big increase.
Yep,
That's
we,
the big increase right there.
we sat down with the town accountant, Jen and myself, and these were the numbers that the town accountant had given us for FY26. Any big questions, I can definitely take back to her. I'm gonna see her on Thursday. We have our joint finance meeting, so,
Yeah, no, she answered all our questions when we asked her.
okay.
She was at a meeting a couple meetings ago. So we're good there. All right, well, I think our next meeting is on the 7th, April 7th.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, FinCom needs some time now to go through, now that we've got the balance sheet put together, we can...
And you'll forward that to all of us?
Yeah, I forwarded the draft to...
Just so we can see what you're,
Yeah.
So it's here with me.
But there's a lot of, I need the free cash number, that's the piece that's
Yeah.
gonna be big.
We're gonna be discussing that Thursday
Thursday.
during our joint finance meeting.
We are.
with the town
That's their
accountant and
meeting.
the
That's our
treasurer
meeting.
collector,
Yeah,
and
we-
Jen and myself, we
All right.
Our
meet
meeting's the
bi-weekly.
14th.
Oh, you guys are talking Thursday? Okay, great, great. All right, will you have a number then?
No, but I'll try.
When do you think we'll have a number?
I need to talk to Sarah. I don't want to give you a time and be wrong. So I'll let you know when I know. How about, I'll text you and let you know when I know.
Is it in April?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo, yeah.
Yeah.
They should know what that number is.
I just
Like,
don't want to say Thursday and
No, I'm just
have it
thinking
for you.
if we can have it by
yeah.
next meeting, that'd be perfect.
I'll try.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, what I'm doing is, looking into overlay surplus. See
okay.
if we can find some money there.
Yeah, because the overlay, I think we have, what, 35,000?
60-something
65, yeah.
thousand.
65.
But I need to get the final numbers from the treasurer,
Yeah,
and then maybe we could use some of that.
We've done that, yeah.
good, okay.
Like I said, I think we can also bump up local receipts. We had a massive amount of checks that had to be cashed this year with our building inspector that were not cashed from prior inspectors. So I think there's things there that we can look at. So we're really trying. We're trying to be, we are being frugal. We are trying to be responsible. I can't say enough for what people are working, how they're working, and we're trying to bring efficiency.
Excellent. All right, when do you think you'll have a estimated local receipts number?
Don't we have one right here?
Yeah, you do have a.
Yeah, it's ongoing. Like,
It is ongoing. I mean,
yeah.
it is ongoing till the end of the year. I mean, I get it monthly, so I can definitely.
Right.
Well, we gotta come up with a projection. We gotta forecast out.
It's better to be conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what I did initially. Is I looked at the last 3 years and kind of estimated and be conservative. But like I said, I think we can bump it up. But once we get to the end of this month, and I get that number again, like I showed you.
Yeah.
But the closer we get, the more accurate it is. So I think at least another month, we can project something more reasonable.
okay. All right, that sounds good.
Does anyone else have any
Does New
questions?
Braintree have their police budget yet?
No. They weren't going to finish their police budget until this Board of Selectmen signed the union contract, which I believe they're doing tonight.
Okay,
So,
all right. Anything else?
No. April 7th. Every day.
Big day.
Yep.
Anything for us?
I got nothing.
Want to wish us luck at least?
Yeah, I will, for sure. And,
Thanks for your service.
yeah,
can I say one more thing?
appreciate it.
I could not do this budget without Jen. I'm just being honest. She's an absolute gem and rock and the smartest person in.
How lucky you are to make.
All the knowledge, all the knowledge.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, take a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the finance committee meeting.
Okay, we're done.
Thank you, guys,
Thank you.
and good luck.
I should stay there.
Any visitor comments? Good. Okay, discussion and vote on the New England Police, you want to say that word again?
Benevolent. I like that
Benevolent
word.
Association Local 72 contract. So we negotiated back and forth with the police union and came up with an agreement in executive session prior to this meeting. So the contract has to be voted for in open session.
And I can make the changes
Yeah,
that we've discussed.
correct, yep.
If you want to vote pending the
Yeah,
changes that were made
yep,
and sign it, yeah.
And then we'll sign it
Yeah.
when it's approved.
I'd like to move that we sign this contract with the amendments we made.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Discussion and possible vote on special town meeting.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, it's planning board, and as I'm sure a lot of you know, we're in the process of updating our zoning bylaws, which has proven to be a monumental task. It's been taking a lot longer than we anticipated, which is why we're doing it in 2 phases. So we submitted, just to recap the process, we submitted to you the proposed changes on January 13th. I don't think received any feedback, so we went ahead and we filed the notice for the public hearing on January 17th. We held our public hearing on February 11th at the townhouse. We voted at that townhouse public hearing. We did some fine tuning. We voted to cement that on March 11th. So now today, Justine, I think you got them from Bill, the warrant articles that we're proposing. The next step is to have a special town meeting. We would like to shoot for Thursday, April 17th, if that's something that's within your purview to do. So if that's something you are okay with, that's the date we're looking to have it. We just want to keep the momentum going, because if we wait, beyond what we're supposed to, we have to start the process over again.
What's the deadline?
Well, we have to have them, I don't know how long it needs to be.
You have 6 months from the date of your public hearing to make a recommendation.
There you go. Thank you.
But we do have some projects pending, so we would like to kind of get these going.
Okay, Brian, any feedback on that?
It's your call. It's your call.
But do those dates work?
Because they had originally mentioned the 15th, so the 17th is much more advantageous.
Okay.
I mentioned, excuse me, we also wanted to do it at the townhouse, just anticipating at least a small group of folks. And we were told that was available for that evening also.
Okay.
The place it stands now, we put together the articles with input from all of us and of course the current document, and it's very much like what we gave to you before. Then we got, then we ran that by the Attorney General, not for content review, but just talk to her about how to present this. And then we drafted all of that and ran it by Ryan today and Eric. And then today I printed and shared, I didn't print, I shared a PDF version of what we were looking for with Justine. I think she's of the opinion that it should go by legal review for the formatting, I guess, of the...
Any special town meeting or annual town meeting typically gets reviewed by town council just to make sure that the wording is, we're covering our own with the wording.
The wording of the warrant, not the content.
And just that the articles are worded correctly for to vote on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, we were a little confused because we hadn't heard that before, and one member of the committee talking to Council Eichmann anyway said didn't feel that was necessary, so we just went with using standard format, running it by Ryan.
We do typically have review any annual town meeting or special town meeting gets reviewed.
Okay, so I would add that, well, hopefully that is out for review or will be imminently for council. I don't think it's a big job in reviewing it, but that's up to him.
How many articles are on the warrant?
There's six articles. The warrant is lengthy because we went with the format of including the full bylaw with the changes in the articles, which of course don't have to be actually read, but they have to be available. They will be posted everywhere and so forth.
To be read.
But what I wanted to say is that talking to Ryan today, it became clear that that it could be on the 17th with the voter registration day happening on the 7th, a Monday, and it would simply have to be posted the 2 weeks prior to the 17th, which gives, frankly, this board some time, a week possibly, to receive back, hopefully, an approved warrant, and then simply vote to do the meeting. And I know it would be a special meeting.
Yeah, we'd have to have an additional
Yeah.
meeting to,
But it's just that would be
Madam Chair?
necessary.
yeah.
I did also talk to Ryan today. I also talked to our building inspector, and he had a couple questions about some of the language. And I personally would feel better if we did this at the annual town meeting. It falls within the time frame. I think that it be more transparent to do it that way. I feel like this is just very rushed, and I appreciate all the work that they've put into this. I also just don't think that there's a lot of thought to the indirect costs, like, people's time, and sending it to a warrant to council twice in like a month period.
Yeah.
It just, to me, doesn't.
Well, so my next question was, wondering why you don't want to do it at the annual town meeting.
Well, it's not that we are opposed to it. It's just we've been working on this for years. We had a moratorium in place for 1 year, a solar
Four
moratorium.
years ago.
Yes, you were on the board.
Yeah.
And so it's just been taking so long, and we can't even get through the whole thing this time. So we were just thinking, we're already so overdue, that we just wanted to get it done, and this just seemed like a simple, streamlined way to get it done, but, I mean, obviously, it's your call.
We did also mention when we presented the proposals to this board, that we'd be having a hearing on it, which we did, all posted and advertised and talked up some, and we got a little feedback from half a dozen persons who were at that meeting, made a few very modest changes in what we're proposing. We don't anticipate, but who knows, a lot of discussion about it or amendments or whatever. It could happen, but we frankly felt that it didn't need to be to load up the agenda at the annual town meeting, frankly, where there will be lots more to talk about.
Our building
We just wanted
inspector.
to keep it simple.
And I don't know, I haven't heard anything about, and we didn't hear anything in the drafting of all of this and the working of it from Mr. Stringham, so I don't know what he would be raising now or what would be reviewed, but that would be content stuff of the bylaws that we have proposed and considered and had the hearing on and looked at all kinds of towns on. I don't know what that would be. It's the first time hearing anything
Brought it
about
up to
this
me, Mr.
input.
Tinker, today.
Yeah. You mentioned about your definitions about accessory dwelling unit, ADUs, and the state has basically ruled on that, and I was wondering, have you included that, the state's definition, into these bylaws?
No, we have not, and what we said throughout was that we are going to address the ADUs, probably heavily leaning on the very soon to be released state model bylaw for ADU. We in fact stayed away from the ADU. We were going to do that before the state even moved on it, suggesting that the town consider allowing certain ADUs in town. In the meantime, last year, the town said, or the state said, they're gonna be allowed by right everywhere. We're comfortable with that.
We're aware of that.
But
We knew that.
we're gonna wait until we see what their final language is and the model bylaws, and that will be in the second batch. It really has nothing to do with this one. Some definitions are about dwellings,
Yeah,
but it's nothing about the ADUs.
Well, it defines the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit, per the state, and your definition is different from the state's version according to Paul. And
He had some big concerns.
he had some
But
issues.
that's why they had public hearings.
Well, and also, don't we get the building inspector's input on these?
But that's why they had public hearings.
Yeah, we've asked him to come to, he's welcome at our meetings anytime, and he has come
Well,
to
it
some
made
of
it
our
sound like
meetings.
he gave this
No,
information.
it's,
He did make it sound like that.
I look forward to talking to him about that, because he didn't participate in the process. That is not what's in here now. We had only accessory dwelling and use. We added to the words "a building," we added "or structure." See definition of structure. That's it. There's nothing in here about accessory dwelling units. we left in, what the town has had for many years, the definition and the use of accessory apartments. We were going to change that if we were going to bring in the accessory dwelling. We decided, let's handle accessory dwelling units, where the state's totally clear about it, and took out any suggested or considered changes about accessory dwelling units. They're not in there.
Solar has also changed a lot in the last 6 months at the state level. I really think it needs to be reviewed, but, I mean.
And we've kept up with all of those changes
Yeah.
as well.
Question.
Yes, of course.
How many people came to the public hearing?
There are about,
6?
all of the 6 of us plus maybe 6 more.
So this isn't out to the town yet, really? People
Oh, yeah,
don't
well,
know.
it was
It's on the
it was
website.
advertised, it was
It's
On
posted.
the
it was
website,
on
we
the
haven't
internet.
had a public information meeting or anything like that.
We've had, at our regular
That's what they
meetings,
did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
we've
Yeah,
been
we did it
talking
at the
about it.
townhouse with a slideshow and we publicized everything. We had more copies available. There was, like I said, just a very small amount of input.
So did you change any of the language regarding the solar facilities? Was it that I had asked you in this
From
meeting?
our current bylaws from years ago,
No, the question there with the master plan steering committee and a couple other things that I had asked a while back when you came in front of us.
the mention that, I mean, I can read it to you, but the mention, again, this is content, but
Right.
not formatting and procedure, but the question that we had, or I think you raised, was about citing them on public lands or open space or whatever. And we left in the language that says, and I can certainly read it if you want to go there.
Well,
We left
my
in the
question had
language.
to do with the master plan, and there was
What
one
it
other
said,
reference.
what we proposed says, additionally, the solar energy facilities, these are large solar energy facilities, shall be consistent with community planning documents, including but not limited to the town's master plan and open space and recreation plan.
And my
This means-
question was, the planning board handles solar arrays, you guys handle the planning. So our master plan steering committee, we have that approved, what, every 10 years? So I was wondering, how would that affect somebody who wanted to do solar?
But what it would mean, in my opinion, is that the planning board, as they decided on any conditions or whether to permit to allow a certain application, would take into consideration the town's planning documents. If they wanted to do one, like I might have said to you before, if they're proposing it doing on a baseball field or on prime agricultural soil or something else, if we would think that there was a question about whether that was the suitable place for that particular project, or possibly condition it in some ways. It is language that's in other towns that has been approved, so.
Right. But also on a state level, the state has approved solar, and they have their guidelines and language.
One of the key reasons that we needed to update this, because the state has basically said, no unreasonable regulation for solar facilities are allowed.
And in fact, we actually had to add battery energy storage systems. Our original bylaws were so antiquated, they didn't even talk about that.
Right.
And so that's something we need to have in here, so we added that in here. I mean, we did do a lot of changes, and we've been keeping up with what the state requires. And we always take into consideration the master plan, open space, all that stuff, the planning board, that's how they always operate. And people, that's why we have public hearings, so people can come and they can talk about their concerns, and we can turn those concerns perhaps into conditions. We've always operated that way.
Okay.
You're totally right that the legal landscape or the state requirements about solar and battery storage too have been evolving very fast. And our old, before the moratorium bylaws, there was no such, there were no large energy
Right.
storage or electric, solar power, solar facilities. So we brought in language from other towns that have been approved, giving the town, we felt, some ability to permit or not or condition different proposals that come in order to not have happen what has happened in other towns, which is where something comes in, there's no ability to control or condition it. It just gets done, much to the detriment of to the dissatisfaction of many of the residents. So-
And so just to be clear, until these are officially adopted, we are dealing with the 2018 regs. And so if we have projects coming in, we have to go by the 2018 regs until we can go through and get this approved at town meeting.
Okay.
Any other? It's been proposed for April 17th. But we do have to get it reviewed.
And we have to have a special town.
Should have a conversation with the building inspector.
I just think it's too rushed. That's just my-
May I say one thing more on that? In terms of the content, I mean, what he addressed, that I already said is not what's in here. But if he or anyone else has questions about the content, first, they could have been brought up at the hearing or sooner. But secondly, those things are what go to the Attorney General. If it's passed at the town meeting, the new bylaw changes go to the Attorney General, who then might say, like if we were saying, you cannot have an accessory dwelling unit over 600 square feet, they would come and they'd say, no, that's not true. It's 900 square feet and you can't do this. And if there's something in there about anything that is not allowable, then they would be rejecting that single part of the approved language.
Well, in all fairness, Paul, he's not here tonight, but he did have a conversation with us, and he made it sound like he did attend your, planning board meetings, and he gave some input. To what extent that is, I don't know. But he is building inspector in this town, and we should be taking his input
He's
for
only
his
part-time.
role.
He's only part-time.
Right,
so
and he's
he'll
part-time,
be-
he's here on Mondays, so I think we should be taking it into consideration and not just discarding it.
We have asked his input, and on some things he has been helpful. We talked to him about the lighting regulations, and he's had some thoughts about that. We talked to him about, signage and other things that are not in this batch of bylaws. What's in here he hasn't had anything to say to us, though he is, of course, the enforcement agent of all of this. So everywhere in here that it says, shall be inspected by the building inspector, that would involve him. But that's standard.
Any suggestions?
We can table it for 2 weeks.
Or we could put it just on for the annual town meeting. Because 2 weeks is gonna, be another 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we have a special meeting? And we're talking the end of April versus it's another month at that point. I mean, just cost-wise, it's not like we're swimming in money.
Good. On that point, please.
Yes.
What is the cost question? We talked about that earlier when we said, we thought of even having it in this room, then we talked about the townhouse. There's not, for a special town meeting in the townhouse, are we looking at any expense? What are we looking
So I'm
at?
gonna pay a check-in person.
A check-in person then?
Right, so you don't anticipate more than like 20 people showing up and the
Well,
townhouse is
the-
sufficient?
No, it's like probably, hopefully, more than that.
Right.
But
And
there's,
so why wouldn't you want to do it at the annual town meeting while everybody's there? So people can, speak up.
we'd like
and
them
say
to
if
be,
they want
we'd
these
like them to
bylaws.
be in place.
I don't understand the rush at this moment in time. You've dragged, it's gone a very long process, and another month isn't gonna make a difference to the process. But that's just my opinion.
I don't know how we'd review it and turn it around and be able to post it 2 weeks prior to April 17th.
No, the 17th is too close.
It is too close.
Is
And then to push it off, if we reevaluate on the 14th, now you're talking at least 3 weeks out from there, or a solid 2. And I don't disagree that we could just do this. What, the town meeting is June 7th?
Yes.
Is that what the proposed
June
date is
7th,
at this
yep.
point?
Could we just please ask the town clerk for the timetable that it was explained to me today, and why the 17th is doable if the warrant is signed by whatever, it has to go up 2 weeks ahead.
Correct, and so I'm concerned that if we send it out for review from town council,
Yeah,
how long it's gonna take them to get it back to us. We need to be able to sign it next week,
that's correct.
so that it can get posted by the 3rd.
We don't have a
So,
meeting.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes,
So your next when is your next meeting going to
the
be?
14th.
So it's not gonna be the 7th, okay?
No.
You know, if it came back and you had a quick meeting just to sign the warrant, you could do the 7th, and, you know, you could make it for the 24th, which is still a Thursday. Keeps me out of the week of the election, and also gets it to the AG quicker. I mean, but again, this is, you know, it's your call. They can petition if you guys refuse, so I mean, from my standpoint, whatever you decide to do, you're gonna do. Thursdays work best. I'd ask to stay away from May 1st, because I've got the election on May the 3rd.
Yeah.
So I think that, given what you're talking about, if you're worried about reviewing things like that, I still think the 24th could potentially be doable if it comes back, because that will give you time to review it. 2 weeks' time is the 7th. I know you're meeting on the 14th, the 2nd, and the 4th, but that is a alternative.
I'm off on
To
the
consider.
24th. If that matters. Don't send
Probably not.
surgery then today.
Probably not.
I won't be here.
That's probably not a huge deal, but thank you for reminding us of that. I mean, does that make more sense to not rush it as much? If they petition it, if we say no, then we're back, we're coming back to, you know what I mean? I don't want it to become a, you know.
Well, I really think you should get the building inspector's input on this bill and make whatever, you know, amendments to this document that he recommends that are changed on a state level, like the correct definitions to things.
We have done that in respect to all of the bylaws that are being proposed to be amended now. And the time to do that would solely be in advance of a hearing. If he says, oh, I've got this other idea, or you should do ADUs now or something, we're going to have to, again, not just draft the proposal, give it to you, have it to come back to us, do the hearing again, go through the whole timetable again. So I don't know, and it's a content question, as I said, it's not a question about the format, which is what we ran into today with needing the warrant itself, which was prepared, but the warrant needs, it's a question about the formatting of the warrant, not the content of the articles.
Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ryan, Mr. Clerk, if we could have a town meeting in here, we've done that before. Would the article, the warrant, be amendable on town meeting floor?
Well, it would, but it would have to obviously be within the scope of what the article is
Right, but if something
printed, and
came
at the
up,
same time, it also has to be what was discussed at the public hearing. So there could be something that, and I don't want to get into hypotheticals, but there could be a scenario where something is amended at town meeting, and the AG looks at it like, nope, not going to count because it wasn't addressed at the public hearing. But, you know, all of the articles are always amended, and so I would have to submit that. Excuse me, they're not always amended. They're always
Amendable.
amendable, thank you very
Correct.
much. So if it was something that the Attorney General didn't like, they're just going to not approve.
Right.
So these things with the building inspector could certainly have a conversation and find out whether or not it's amenable to, and amenable, not amendable, amenable, agreeable, to have that verbiage or whatever the concerns are, and it may actually be okay with the Attorney General. The only way we're going to find out is when we send it to him. You know.
And that has to happen after a meeting.
30, I have 30 days after
Right.
the meeting to
Right.
submit to them. And I understand where Bill's coming from with the annual, more people, et cetera. You know, I look at it, they've had the public hearing on it, and they only had 6 people that come out. So I think the general public is kind of like, yeah, we're okay with this. You know, we're doing this, we're doing that. But again, that's my way of looking at it. You might have a different viewpoint. Also, putting it on the annual, we'll be there, you know, we might potentially be there a while.
This is 57 pages long.
Yeah.
You know, so those are the other things to consider, but I don't, my own opinion, you know, again, it's your warrant. If the 17th can't be met, I certainly think the 24th could be, if your board is agreeable to it. I have voter registration the day before for the election.
That
We
means
need,
that-
we need an extra meeting.
That means an extra meeting,
So in between the 14th and the...
no, it's gotta be posted on the 10th, correct?
Yeah, so you could have your meeting on the 7th in 2 weeks' time.
Finance committee is at 6
Okay.
at night.
I'm just not around, but these two can...
Or you could always do it at any other time if you so, you know, if you
Yeah,
wanted to.
We'll meet you on the 7th.
I can't do the 7th, I can do the 8th though. I can do Tuesday.
8th is the Narcan training at
We-
6 o'clock if you need.
What if we do early, like 5? It's just a sign,
Oh, yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Well, you're voting and
Right.
signing, yeah,
It's
you're
just- Right,
voting and
and
signing.
signing it, is that
We
okay?
can do
Bill?
that with just
If
two
we-
of us.
Yeah, you're two.
Yeah, that's fine if you guys do it, but I'm away.
But are you okay with that? If
Yeah.
we, okay,
Do
okay.
you, may I ask this, do you have any idea how long, a review from legal that's just talking about not the content, but the form, how long that
Correct,
would take?
you never know with them, because we're not their only, they cover multiple towns, so I hate to say that they'll get it back in a day or two and have it take over a week to get back from them. It just, you know, we'll tell them that it's urgent that we have a meeting, but I've dealt with them before where it can take a while to get something back.
I mean, something you think that's gonna take a day or half a
It
day
literally,
turnaround.
yeah,
It's just,
it's just, we're not their only client.
yeah.
They cover, you know, a ton of other towns, so I want to be mindful of that and not say that we could get it back in a day or two and have that not be the case. So if you're okay with the 24th, it sounds like we can meet on the 8th to vote on that. So it's just pushing it off a week to make sure we have enough time.
The warrant, the date on the warrant would have to change, obviously.
That's fine, that's,
The location could be the same, and yes, I believe that
Ann, is the 24th okay for the townhouse? Do you know?
I don't know offhand,
Oh.
I think it does.
Are we just gonna do it here? No,
That's what
he just
Eric
said,
just talked about.
We've had
Oh.
town meetings right here.
Well, we've had town meetings here, you know, we got a capacity, I think, of 32 for this
We
room.
have more like 60 at the townhouse.
I
So-
would feel better doing it at the
I-
townhouse, just in case.
I agree.
I would hate to go through all that.
and then have it not be able to happen because of
Which
overcapacity.
is the date you want?
The 24th,
Okay, of April.
yeah,
Yep,
so just a week after.
okay.
Okay. Does that give us a little bit more time to have it reviewed and?
Yep.
I don't know. Make a motion for that?
How would I put it?
You make a motion for a special town meeting on April 24th?
Got it. I move that we have a special town meeting on April 24th
At the town.
At the
at the
townhouse.
town.
At what time?
What time do you guys want? 6 o'clock? 6:30,
the
what?
hearing
The
itself, I mean,
meeting.
the meeting, we had said 6:30 on the warrant.
6:30? Okay.
Thank you.
At the townhouse.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Discussion and vote on polling hours and election warrant.
Okay, town clerk.
Madam Chair, you have the warrant in front of you that I prepared for you. I'm
have it.
recommending, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would recommend, it's a Saturday,
Yep.
it's our second Saturday election, people can vote by mail, I've already got a whopping 22 that want to vote by mail. At the present time, we'll have 3 contested races, but that won't be official until April the 1st, that's the
Okay.
day to object or withdraw.
Yep.
I'm recommending 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I can go up there earlier in the morning to set up, I think 8 hours is plenty of time on a Saturday
Yeah.
for people to vote. You can still vote absentee the day before if they're unexpectedly going to be out of town.
Okay.
And there's also, again, vote by mail. So everybody has ample opportunity to vote if they so choose.
You good?
Good.
Want to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we notify and warn the inhabitants of town of Hardwick that there will be a chance to vote for town officials on May 3rd, from 10 to 6.
Yeah. At the
The
elementary school.
elementary school.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Couldn't get the jargon rolling there.
I'm telling you, it's a problem lately.
I'm gonna have a whole folder of stuff for you to sign.
Okay. Oh, okay. Discussion on capital planning committee and the police station planning. Yes. So I had Justine add this to the, to tonight's meeting, kind of. I've heard some concern from the police department about different avenues that are being discussed during the meetings. I think one was the old mill building, and I wasn't at your meeting, so I'm verbalizing what I've heard. And then maybe, back downstairs, and I don't know what else. At any rate, I guess I wanted to have a conversation to maybe think more on how we could actually get some funding in for the building that we did purchase for the facility, and see if there's any avenues for that. And anyone can add anything to it.
Which is Lower Road.
Correct, yeah, the old Streeter building, is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
right,
The old-
yeah.
So, I just wanted to, I guess, maybe just bring that to your forefront. So that-
I think if there was anything that I could add to that, it's been 9 years since the town voted to buy the Streeter
Yeah.
building. So there's obviously a problem with the Streeter building.
Well,
And
I
it
think
could
it's
be-
funding,
yeah.
it's finding the funding to actually
Well,
do
I think
it.
it still is.
You know?
maybe. So it
Yeah.
could be another 9 years. So the question becomes, what do we
Yeah.
do if we were to look further down the line?
Yeah,
What do we do in 5 years or 10 years? Do we stay in New Braintree for that long? Do we move back to Gilbertville? It was the #1 requirement for a new police relocation from the police department. Is 9 years ago, was the town thought that the Streeter building
Yeah.
was the best solution?
yeah,
Is it today? I think that we were just kicking the tires because
Yeah.
no matter what, if you bring it to a town hall floor, somebody's gonna bring, did you think about this?
Yeah.
Or
No,
did you-"
agreed.
Yeah, so,
I
yeah.
guess I just wanted to circle back, because I know we had the conversation before, and, we weren't in favor of, making a new committee for,
Right, yep, exactly.
for that one purpose.
Right.
I mean, it should be something that we're all discussing.
Yep.
So I just.
Yeah, we haven't taken any decisions. We will let the
Yeah.
conversation flow because I think this was 3 meetings so far, and at 3 meetings, it just sounds like a very difficult decision to make no
Yeah,
matter what.
I don't disagree.
I think if I were to circle back after listening to everybody, we would probably circle back to taking some action to
Yeah.
move back here. The question is,
Yeah, I agree.
where,
I know.
when, and how do we do
And
it?
how do we do, and
Yeah.
fiscally, how do we do it?
Well, fiscally, fiscally,
We
how do we
need to
do
know
it?
what we're gonna do before we
Yeah.
can find out
Yeah.
what we need for money.
I
So
think,
we're going,
the biggest stalemate in that discussion was the Streeter building was like, correct me if I'm wrong,
Million.
87,
Yeah, the initial
square feet,
Yeah.
and there was,
Yeah.
that might be bigger than what you
way
need.
bigger than we need.
So the question is, do you make it 4,200 square feet, use a Streeter building, or find a new location for 4,200? Because
Yeah.
what do you do with 8,700 square feet?
With all the extra space.
With all the extra
Yeah.
space. Does that mean it's consolidation, relocation, renovation? I mean, or leasing the building? I think in the next couple of meetings, we're gonna probably circle back to the Streeter building.
Okay.
But we just wanted the process because we know we're gonna face those challenges from
Fair
the town
enough.
hall floor.
Yeah, fair enough, I think, yeah.
I just want to add one thing. I think, one of the concerns, at least that I had, was, something came to light today that there's people, going out and talking to other police departments and whatever. And I just wanna, I think it just would make more sense if we were, like one Hardwick, like this is what we wanna do, and this, and everyone be on the same page, you know what I mean? Because when we're hearing things that people are out talking to other police departments and maybe, I'm not sure, representing I just feel like we all need to be.
Nobody from the capital.
I know
planning is
that,
doing
I know that. I just want no one from capital planning is doing that,
No.
okay?
Yeah, and, well, we can't control that.
No, I know, I just, if we were all on the same page, I just
right.
feel like that might mitigate some of those
Some
things.
of those-
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
some of the people doing their own homework per se behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to be sensitive also to the police department
Yeah.
needs, and that's why we brought it to you guys, said, do you want to have an independent review of this, and you kicked it back to us, which
Yeah,
is fine.
no, yeah.
I mean, it's fine,
I don't think we needed
prefer-
another committee
Right,
or,
I
you know.
agree with you.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wish you didn't kick it back to us, because it's really a headache.
It's a hard
But-
one, I
but
know.
It's okay,
It is, and,
it's okay, we'll do it,
Yeah.
but it's a little painful right now.
I-
It really is.
yeah.
I'm not sure
And
we,
I think there's a lot of emotions involved
oh my
from
goodness.
everyone
Yeah,
in
right,
that, so,
yeah.
fair, yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure
No,
that
that's
we
good.
were,
Oh,
you know,
I think that's the conversation.
communicating and
Yeah.
just being open about, I think they
Absolutely.
cringed a little bit at the thought of going back downstairs into that area that's probably not safe for them to be back
No, but you
down
can
in.
see how that,
And,
someone might
yeah.
say, "Well, what was wrong with the old station? We know what was wrong. We
Right.
listened to an hour-and-a-half presentation
Yeah.
by the police department explaining why it
Yeah.
wasn't. But you know what, we don't want to.
Not everybody knows that.
Yeah,
And-
right.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah,
Yeah.
good, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we,
I think it's good to put it out in the air
Yeah,
like this, too, so
perfect.
everybody
Yeah,
knows what's going on.
perfect.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything on that?
Well, I think we should consider finding finance for the school, for the police station. As far as the USDA offers those rural grants for the, safety and security,
And loans,
yeah, loans. I
And
mean,
loan,
yeah.
nothing's been done since 2017, we bought the building.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, nobody's applied for grants or tried to secure funding.
They've tried, yes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should reconsider
Yeah.
and try
Yeah, I
again.
think that's what.
It's
we're
been a
gonna-
while, but,
I think the question is, what are you going to apply for?
right,
You
yeah.
know, the top line is for a police station.
Right.
All right. How big? How long is it gonna take?
Yeah.
No, the financing process is
Yeah.
probably gonna be the limiting factor. But the question is, we don't want the town to say, we don't want that, once we find out what we want.
Right.
The question
We
is,
have to be able to
when
afford
can
it
we
too.
afford it? And how long will that take for us to get the finances to afford it?
So we should be applying for grants and stuff like
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely. And Janet Pierce from Central Mass Regional Planning was here to listen to that conversation
Oh,
at the
good.
last
Okay.
meeting.
Good.
And it was very fruitful because it's also on the list that Justine is working with. I think we have a grant writer working with, so
Yeah.
it's really,
Awesome,
it's on the
Okay.
list.
perfect,
Number one priority.
perfect. I just wanted it to come back to, so, like I said, we talked about it before,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. We should do this more often. We
I-
should
yeah, I
have that
agree.
It's really
conversation.
like, it's process of elimination is what
Yes.
we've been doing with this specific problem, is trying to, okay, how would it be this way, or what would it be that way? We need to know what we're asking for before.
Well, and
we-
until we figure it out, then, like you said, we can't apply for anything until we know exactly what
What we're asking for.
we're asking for,
Yeah.
so that makes sense, yeah. And then we go and try to look for grants and.
Sure,
Yes.
exactly.
I have one thing.
Yes,
So something else, because I'm intimately in the budget right now. And I did mention earlier that we do have some departments that can't pay their bills right now. So even if we do get a new police station, and that's what I want, and I think the town deserves it. But how are we gonna pay for that too? Because
Yeah.
that's gonna be an
Yeah.
added expense.
100%.
So it's we have to be proactive and look at not just, here is a great building, because we
Well, what's it gonna
definitely-
cost?
Exactly.
Yeah, going forward.
To run and everything. And
Yeah.
I will say one thing about the Streeter building, I think it's an excellent place for a police station, and I think it's also room for them to grow. So it would be 30 plus years that they have this beautiful,
That they would have a facility, yeah.
so not just, okay, it fits them now, but okay, well, what is it gonna look like 30 years from now, 60
Right.
years from now?
Yep.
One last thing I think I might mention though is, if let's just say we plan this out and it's 5 or 6 or 7 years from now, there'll be phases. How long can you stay in New Braintree? That's up to the select board for both towns to work on. If we decide that we can get money, when would that happen? Do we have the plans? This may be a long
Oh, yeah.
phased project.
Yeah.
So it's
agree
worth
that-
going through the pain, because sooner or later, we're gonna have to deal with it.
Well, and do it once, not, yeah.
Yeah, right, and not fast.
Let's not try to,
Right.
put Band-Aids on things and then.
We don't need another
Yeah.
roof to fix in this
Right.
town, and that's where the Streeter Building's gonna be in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. All right, well, thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
staying
you, Mark.
for
No
that.
problem.
I appreciate that. Okay, vote to sign the Hardwick Pond Preservation Association support letter.
Yep, so there's a copy of it in your packet, and I have it tonight for you to sign. I'll put it
Okay.
in your sign folder.
Yep.
But it's what we talked about at the last
Last
meeting.
meeting, yep.
If you are comfortable with it, it's here to
Yeah.
sign.
I would move that we sign the Hardwick Pond Preservation Association support letter.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Discussion and vote on retiree health insurance policy. So prior to this meeting, we had our personnel committee meeting, and it was voted on there by the personnel committee that we approved the health insurance eligibility policy for the town retirees, which in essence covers them until they hit Medicaid age. So we had previously voted at town meeting to cover them, and then this will go in our personnel policy, so. A motion?
Make a motion to vote on the retiree health insurance policy, to accept it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It'll be in here for after the meeting.
Okay. Discussion and vote on Proudy Road property conservation restriction.
Good evening,
Hi,
everyone.
sorry.
Great to see you all again.
Busy meeting.
No,
Welcome
it's been really interesting to listen to.
Oh, I bet.
There's always so much going on in everyone's municipality. So I wanted to come back tonight. You had asked Mr. Tinker to consider a couple of additional things, and I thought for folks that might be new in the room and for you all as well to just kind of restate some of the purposes of this conservation restriction. And so this conservation restriction in particular, as a reminder, is over a private individual's property and being held by a conservation organization, which is the trustees who I represent. And there's key components to the conservation values for this. So one of the ones that I think is really key in listening to your discussion on the finance committee too, I was really struck by listening to that discussion of our rural character and what do we do to preserve that, and when you're looking at your budgets. And I know I said this in the last meeting, but this conservation restriction really has a private individual, Mr. Leland, contributing to the goal of that 2013 Hardwick Open Space Plan. So again, goal 1 of preserving the rural and historic character of the town through acquisition of land or by CRs, the protection of open space to meet community water and conservation needs, and the town's farmlands are the highest priority. And objective 4, provide protection of active farmland and properties of prime ag soils, wildlife corridors, large blocks of open space. I know a big sticking point, Mr. Tinker, for you last time was thinking about public access to the property. And so I provided 2 additional maps for you all to review, and I just want to bring those up and bring a couple of pieces of attention to you all. The first one we can look at is the Hardwick Open Space and Public Access map, in which I have starred all of the public access points that I could see. There might be more that I don't know of, but using your regional tourism website that I was developed, as well as looking at East Quabbin Land Trust's website, All Trails, there are quite a number of publicly accessible open space lands, protected open space lands, including just a few miles down the road from Mr. Leland's land is the Moose Brook Preserve, owned by East Quabbin Land Trust, that has 3.5 miles of trails. Something else that I want to point out on this map, the more colorful one, is you'll see that there are a number of other easements, both CRs and agricultural preservation restrictions, that have that hatch shading. And you'll notice that there's a strong precedent that private ownership land does not have public access for it. You know, and one of the things you asked for was to go and talk to Mr. Leland, and we talked on phone. I was just at his house this afternoon, and both he feels and I really agree that a active working farm is not the location to allow for public access as written into the document. Now, John reminded me this afternoon that over the course of him owning and operating this farm, he has had dozens of individuals come knock on his door and ask if he could, if they could walk on the property. During each of those times, he has not denied a single person. The only times that he has maybe redirected folks has been if there are folks hunting during the hunting season. He said, there's 3 folks that I allow to hunt on this property. They hunt on the east side of the road. You know, if you're gonna go for a walk, you should go on the west side of the road for safety. He's also really interested in how his lands really contribute to the ecological benefit of the larger ecosystem. He has a lot of bobolinks on the property, which are a threatened bird species that need active, usually agricultural fields or maintained fields in order to breed. And oftentimes when I visit him, he always mentions like him keeping an eye on those birds, and the 8 acres that are under consideration this evening has agricultural fields in which he has seen bobolinks. And so also when people come in the springtime, he might say, please avoid this field because of the active nesting birds. Another thing that I think I really want to point out is that, you know, Dr. Leland has over 190 acres already in conservation restriction between the trustees and East Quabbin Land Trust. So this additional 8 acres, if you look on the second map that I provided to you, that is a zoom up of his property, requiring public access only on this 8 acres doesn't make a ton of sense. You'd have, you know, folks just enter 8 acres and turn around. There aren't additional trails surrounding his property. And again, being an active farmland, we're concerned about electric fencing. We're concerned about the cattle that's on site. And I think unlike where I've seen other towns have conserved farmland where it is just a maintained field because someone mows it once a year, you have an actual working farm that is contributing to the economy of this town. Dr. Leland wasn't feeling great, so he wasn't able to attend tonight, but I do want to introduce someone to represent him, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the farm and some of the things that John and I have talked about with this conservation restriction.
Okay, I'm Jane Foley. Hi. I'm a working partner with John Leland at the farm.
Nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you too. I've been to a few of the meetings. It's been very interesting. Very interesting. So the cattle we have, well, actually up on that field, we use it for hayland. And if people have public access, they're gonna mat down all our good hay because it's wonderful soil up on that hill. And he really wanted to maintain it and keep it just agricultural. So we use that field mostly for hay. But we do have a herd of cattle, about 50. They're Angus and Red Angus, and we rotate our fields, and we try to feed them with our own hay and keep it going. It's been very good, profitable. If everyone have a chance, come by and see. It's a beautiful view from that top of the hill too, because you can see like the whole valley there. It is beautiful. But we do have a problem that sometimes we had someone who was coming and taking some manure from us when we allowed him to do it, but as he did it, he matted down half the hay that you get good hay, and we try to get as much as we can because we do end up having to buy some to feed the cattle. We don't have enough. But it is a wonderful place to be. It's a beautiful farm, and we really enjoy it.
Additionally, I wanted to just touch on a couple of things that I heard from the group that gathered here 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted to just reassess a couple of those pieces. Someone asked about the possibility of marijuana growing on that farm, and I didn't mention that the CR not only requires to follow state and local laws, but also federal laws. So at this point, you know, unless those federal laws were to change, I'm not sure if that person is in the room tonight, but, you know, needing to follow federal, state, and local laws would definitely kind of hinder any marijuana production, at least into the foreseeable future. And then, as Jane mentioned, you know, these are really wonderful agricultural soils. In fact, all of the farmland available in this 8+ acres is listed as farmland of statewide importance. The forests on that property are prime forest as dictated by the NRCS. And then one thing that I feel like I misunderstood your question when we talked last time, and again, thinking back to the conversation with the Finance Committee earlier this meeting, you, Mr. Tinker, asked about would this land be taken off the tax roll. I misunderstood you last time. I thought you were asking about tax rate, and that's where I said that that's up to the town. I confirmed with John this evening that since he's been running that as a farm, that has been in Chapter 61A, as this will continue to be owned by a private individual. There will be no reason to take that property off of the tax roll, and he would continue to have that enrolled in Chapter 61A, as that is an active agricultural operation. So just wanted to clarify that, because that was my fault for misunderstanding your question last time. One other thing that John just wanted me to mention this evening, as he's not able to be here, is just the requirement piece of the public access and thinking about his own insurance costs. Again, he's more than welcome to build a relationship with individuals that want to access the land, but is concerned about people being able to do so without, necessarily his permission, and you guys were talking about increasing insurance costs. He's seen increased insurance costs for his property, and wouldn't like to have an incident happen on his land where his insurance for a private individual would continue to go up. I think that's all I want to mention now. I know there was lots of really good discussion last time, so I'd be happy to answer more questions of yours, or anyone else. So thank you all. For those of you who were here 2 weeks ago, I really appreciated the conversation. So happy to answer questions.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
Really?
No? Do you?
No, we can make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we grant the conservation restriction on Dr. Leland's property on Prouty Road.
We have no second?
No second.
Okay. Just gonna,
Sorry.
nope, there's no second on the motion.
Okay. Can I
It doesn't get voted on.
come back when you have your meeting on the 14th?
Sure.
Great.
If you want to, but it's just up to you.
You can certainly try.
Great.
I do have one question, though, if
Sure.
you don't mind me asking. What about the future buyer? Because the future buyer is going to be restricted as far as what he's going to be able to do with those 8 acres. Are you considering him, or them, or whoever it might be?
Considering them in what capacity?
Well, maybe they have a very large family, and they want to build an accessory dwelling unit.
So again, it would have to comply with federal, state, and local laws.
Which it would.
So if it would, that would be something where our conservation restriction team would review it. Right now, as the document states, it doesn't specifically say anything about accessory dwelling units. It does not allow for any residential or commercial building. It does allow for farm appropriate dwellings. So, I don't really think it makes sense to have an accessory dwelling unit when there isn't a primary residence on there. So I don't think you'd really get
It's a very
anywhere.
big family.
This is a private individual, and
Right.
you're asking that the town of Hardwick
I get it.
overlay an individual's
I'm just saying
right
to consider the future buyer of this property and what they want to do with this property.
Then I
I
would say
mean, you
that
said
this isn't
190
the
acres
choice.
are in conservation restriction.
I would
correct?
say this isn't the property for that individual buyer, and I think the market is such that individual buyers are allowed to proceed with any deal that they would like
That's
to
fine.
pursue, and any good realtor is gonna say, you're not allowed to build on this, so this is makes much more sense for a farm operation than a subdivision, a builder. I think also interestingly, I was listening to your discussion about the cost of sending children to school for the town. I think there's often a misconception that conservation land is gonna negatively affect the costs for a town, but there's actually been studies done within the state of Massachusetts using case studies from across the state where there has been shown that just because there's conservation value for the land and that tax rate is there from a private individual, the town is then not paying for additional costs of sending kids to school, of fire and police safety, of I'm not sure if Hardwick does school busing, but it's a balance.
So we have
Right.
one more thing on the agenda
Right,
tonight, so.
but just in fairness, right,
If,
New Brain, we're at 43% owned by non-profit.
I'm-
Kelly, let me finish, please.
No,
And- Okay, fine.
because I
shut
wanna
me down
move
'cause I
on,
wanna say
and
something.
we're gonna have, she's
That's-
coming
that's-
back on the
You
14th.
don't have to come back, is what I'm saying. I don't wanna waste your time or anybody else's time.
I would like to just remind the board that I do only need 2 votes in order
That's
to
fine.
send this back to the state.
And if they
So,
wanna take that up tonight, they can do that.
if there, Madam Chair, if you are willing to second a vote in this meeting, then we could proceed.
It's not common practice. Is that, I mean, for me to second it?
You can if you want, but if you want to vote for it, you can if you.
You can't
Don't.
make a motion,
Yeah,
but
you
you can
can second.
second a
Okay.
motion.
You can.
Okay. Then I'll second the motion. Anyway, we're
I
still
made the motion.
based on the motion, right? Okay. Then I will second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay.
I will happily take 2 signatures.
that's fine.
I'll have them sign it after. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Justine.
Okay, moving on. Discussion and vote on request for proposal for the Calvin Page Building.
You'll see in your packet, we had one proposal for the Calvin Page building. It was myself, Mr. Walheim, and our assessor that was on the committee to open and review the proposal. So all that is in your packet, including the proposal itself, the scoring sheets and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So at this given point, can we just kind of lay out what our options are
Yeah.
as we're looking at them?
Yeah, so you can accept the proposal as is. You can ask me to go back and negotiate with the one bidder, or you can vote to auction it. Or you can reject everything and do nothing.
Does anybody have any input?
I think Justine should go back and negotiate with the one bidder.
Would you want to go into executive session with her first to discuss why we feel that way?
Sure.
Because we can do that too.
Okay, yeah.
I can put that on the 14th if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. Does anyone want to talk about how they felt it went, though, to give some feedback, or?
I thought the proposal was good, but the value to their bid offering of $5,000 is,
Yeah.
I mean, that barely covered Justine's cost to put
Yeah.
the thing together. Never mind, you've got a whole building there.
I would agree with that, and I will say, looking at the scoring, because each person scored the project, that did come lower. That was the one lower point, was the value that was put on the building. So I think that's our biggest concern as a board. I won't speak for you,
Don't
but
speak for me.
no,
Thanks.
I think, well, you even had that at a lower point too.
Absolutely, I thought it was a good proposal.
Yes,
and, you
I
know,
think we all agree that it's a great proposal. So I think we'd like to meet with Justine and Chris.
Madam Chair, as part of the Finance Committee, how much of our budget is in, how many dollars are in the budget for 2026 for that building?
Oh, sorry.
Like maintenance for
Like
the building?
maintenance?
Yeah, do we put any money into that building?
Like
Is there-
1,000 for the white building, so.
It's on the capital list
Yeah,
for a roof, I believe, and only to preserve the building, but we did not move that forward.
yeah, and we pay to insure it because it's a vacant building too.
Right, so is insurance,
Yeah.
is there any electricity or anything, any operating expenses that would be?
Water's been pulled out of it. and-
There is electricity,
Yeah.
so we're paying,
I'll have to look, I've been,
But it's small dollars as well.
yeah,
it's
it can't
not-
be,
It's
yeah,
not substantial.
yeah.
Thank you.
So are we okay with that, to put that on for the 14th to discuss and
I so move.
move
I'll
on?
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of meeting minutes from the January 21st, 2025, and January 27th, 2025.
Any changes and everything, I don't have any issues, so. Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 21st, 2025, and January 27th, 2025. Second.
Let me just get that. I just want to make sure. No, it's just those two. I know I looked at them. I just wanted to. No, I just want to make sure that, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. All in favor? Aye. Town administrator report?
So the planning board office has been painted. We had a moving company in, that helped Northern Construction do all the moving. The planning board has been relocated. It's actually looking really good up there. I'm gonna buy like another coat of paint to do now the side that the planning board is actually on.
So they only do half the road?
No. So
They didn't paint black or
That's
slate black?
Yeah, that's good that they didn't.
So we got rid, there was a whole storage closet that we went through. There was like 5 Christmas trees, like a bunch of just random boxes and stuff. So that was been completely cleaned out, mostly cleaned out, and that's where the planning board is now. So it just needs a coat of paint, but it's like, oh, we gained an extra room, which was kind of nice.
Oh, good.
As you know, we had the bid opening for the Calvin Page building. We got quotes for, since I wrote this, we got quotes for the town hall front door. It came in way lower than expected, so the parts have been ordered.
Perfect.
Working with Mr. Korzik on the tree removal for behind town hall. So I'm excited about that. We had a call with the grant writer about the one-stop grant. Had a finance call with the interim treasurer and the finance committee chair who just left. Wow. So I met with the towns of Ware, Warren, and Blackstone on health insurance to see if we combined and made our own purchase group. There was a lot of interest, but just not for this year because it is getting really close to the end of the fiscal year. Been working with the auditors and the interim treasurer to get the audit finished. The audit has been finished. However, now because we accepted over $750,000 from a federal agency, we have to do a second audit. So we're done with the first one, so I'll have that for the board to look at for the next meeting. But now we're working on the second audit. And we have wrapped up contract discussions with employees, drafting contracts for the board. So that will be also at your next meeting in executive session. I participated in a Zoom through the Massachusetts Municipal Association on navigating public records and open meeting law. The assessor and the executive assistant also did the same Zoom meeting. I met with the Barry Town Administrator and the Council on Aging Director. We've just had some outstanding issues. So I think we're definitely gonna have to meet on like a monthly basis.
Communication and
exactly,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, good.
So we're working on that. I had a call with Lieutenant Landine in the library on their phone system. I attended the Quabbin Regional School District legislative meeting with Senator Durant, Representative Berthium, and Selectman Tinker. Had a call with Elena from Senator Comerford's office on the Quabbin bill follow-up, and also the bill that's also been going through the legislature on municipal buildings. I don't know how much traction it's going to get this year, but it's still, I mean, it's been going through the legislature, different variations of the bill since like 2019 or 2020, so we're keeping an eye on that one as well. I did have a very good call with the governor's office via Teams, so a lot of things are moving forward. I want to recognize Kevin Landine for handling all the training and all the issues with the new phone system, panic buttons, and security deficiencies. We've really been testing his patience, so we are just making him ready to be the next chief. I also want to recognize our chief, Ayot. So we had an issue with the fuel pump behind the highway garage. They had not been serviced in 25 years. So nothing was working correctly, and a lot of the parts were antiquated. So he found people with the parts, connected him with the DPW director in Millbury, who was helping him with some stuff over the phone, and we have repaired the fuel pumps for now. Important dates. We're having a town-wide Narcan training on Tuesday, April 8th at 6 p.m. at the Hardwick Elementary School. It is free for residents. They just have to register in advance. So it's on the website, it's on Facebook. There are flyers here at Town Hall. So that should be interesting. Our annual town meeting is scheduled for June 7th, 2025. I also just put my upcoming vacation days this year. April 24th, May 3rd through 7th, and September 2nd through 4th.
Okay.
And that is all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Selectmen roundtable?
There was something that kept coming up in the email from FEMA about COVID-19. There was money that the town took, a small amount, under previous administration. I had no idea what it was about.
Me neither.
Justine had no idea what it was about. It wouldn't go away. So I tracked it down and spent a wild day,
Oh, you did.
and it's all done.
Good.
So we're all set.
Well, thank you.
So
Thank
that'll
you.
stop showing.
Thanks for getting rid of one of my headaches.
Yeah, thanks, Art. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay. Bill?
I'm good, Kelly,
You
thank
good?
you. Yeah.
Okay.
You?
I'm good. Jenna?
This woman here has a question.
I had a complaint and I called, and I just told the gentleman that called me back, Paul, and I just told him I was gonna be at this meeting.
Oh, Ann. You're
Yeah,
Ann. Yes, okay. I returned your email
Oh, okay, I didn't
this
see-
afternoon that
Oh, okay.
that Paul
I
had
probably
reached out
didn't
to
even
you.
look
That's
at-
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I just had bought a picture of what I was complaining about.
Oh, so you brought the pictures?
Yes, and
Okay.
I brought the map,
But you spoke to him already?
but I called him back. He called me and told me who he was.
Right.
When I called him back, I didn't get any
Okay.
answer. So I just assumed, I told him I would be here tonight.
But he's not here. Yeah.
No, okay.
Okay, so did you leave a message?
For him?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Call you back.
And I
Yeah,
left my
then he'll-
number and told
okay.
him again about my complaint.
Yep.
And I had a map of.
We can certainly take those and give them to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I just had to kind of explain
Yeah,
it.
do you know what this is? It's
one
just
you
I
it's a
live here.
complaint about a
Sherry
yard.
Patch lives
Okay.
Being
here.
disheveled,
Okay.
yeah.
And
But I just
Michelle,
wanna
the
let you know
mayor,
that
lives
so we
here.
can take a
This is
look.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
This is the town line where this gentleman
We
here
gotta
owns this
talk
piece of
about the
property.
generator,
Okay.
We complained about him a
because I
year.
can buy it.
Yeah.
Just gotta pull the trigger.
I thought you
They went
said,
up there,
Eric
Blakely,
had
got
it.
all the cars.
Eric had money, if
Oh, I
that's the
saw your
range
email.
that'll
I
do.
know right
Okay.
now.
it
Okay.
it will,
Yeah,
it'll
I'm
run the
just
boiler and run
Okay.
some lights.
Come in,
It's not gonna
yeah.
run
We just.
everything.
What's this one?
The town hall, like the
Oh.
50 amp
Yeah, yeah,
or 30
yeah.
amp outlet out back.
Yeah.
How much to get an outlet in every room
Let me
worth?
see this, I'll bring this to Paul.
You know,
So
computers
he's only
and
usually
stuff,
in on Mondays,
bigger.
but I will call him tomorrow.
All we have to do is take that generator and switch over the generator and see what it actually powers. And maybe it's just a matter of,
I'll figure it out with
You know
him
what
and
I
I'll let you
mean?
know.
All right, so you and me on a Saturday afternoon to go over to Fleming's, fire it up.
Okay, Bill just had something for roundtable.
just a quick thing, I just wanted to mention on Lower Road where that fire was, if you could mention it, Paul, the building inspector, they have orange,
talked at the conference.
Oh,
orange
yeah.
protective
Yeah.
tape.
I just
Like the netting.
The netting.
Yeah.
And in the last couple of weeks, it's fallen down, so I was seeing if the owner of the property could put up, the construction temporary fencing.
More.
that's
Just to keep
more
it safe,
secure
to
thing,
be
yeah.
safe. Yeah,
Because it's a
yeah.
big open pit.
It is,
Right.
yeah.
And now it's down to
Yeah.
ground level where that orange fence isn't working
Yeah.
in certain areas.
Yeah, that's, I did notice, yeah, I did notice it looking a little disheveled.
I just want to let you know, I visited that property, what was it,
Yes.
about a year ago, right? We talked
Yes,
about it,
just
and
about
I
a year
inspected
ago.
it, so I'm happy to talk about that
Yeah.
and what it looked like then. I'm not sure on the latest, but you can fill me in,
Oh, okay.
and if I
Yeah,
can be
did-
helpful,
Yeah, the
I will
map
help.
will show,
Just make
well,
sure
he's
that
changed
August
everything.
meeting.
Brian,
You think?
And don't forget, I have so
yeah,
much
can you
stuff for you
stay
guys
for
to
a couple
sign.
minutes when they,
Oh, yeah.
when they,
think
and
Just
just
For the
The
record,
town is
I'm
holding
trustee
you
of the trustees.
I had everything too.
Do we have a motion on the table here?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes. Do you have a
All right,
second
I'll
that?
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a big thing for you to sign. This is just a signature.
And how about for that lady, she's sitting so patiently?
It's here. It's in the back, it's in the.
That's okay. I was hiding here.
Well, yeah, that's the property.
Oh, this is for the user transfer. Those the changes that we made.
You did a really good job on summarizing his position.
I wish I